Hello, I'm Tam the Tam BOTC channel, and I've actually wanted to do a Dark Knight video, but I wish I could have done it when I would have better editing software and so on and so forth, just be better with editing in general and have the tools to do so, but I'm not someone who can afford some of those. There's also just a lot of different things going on. My focuses and such shift a lot. My motivation. Um, I haven't really played a whole lot of newer games. I'm stuck to older games. For example, I'm just not motivated to care about a lot of that stuff. I just like Moist Critical. I'm also exhausted of the Souls games now, unless I play one of the older ones. Um, yeah, and I haven't really cared for the newer consoles either. But trying to push myself to be more motivated to get back into drawing and such. But I wanted to talk about The Dark Knight because a friend of mine slash we haven't talked in a while, sadly though. But you don't always know what to say to one another. I'm a very socially awkward person, so I don't always know what to say. Even when people comment on my own videos, I'm not always sure what to say. I wish I was part of certain groups or forums or communities, but like even there, I'm like I'd still probably be mostly silent or not talk. I don't even use like X or Facebook much at all. But I've been wanting to make a video on The Dark Knight. I have like multiple copies of The Dark Knight. I've been a giant Batman fan. I grew up with these two long boxes my uncle gave me, and of course, Batman being the comic collection that was the biggest in one of the boxes. And from there, like, as well as watching the animated series with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as Batman and Joker, I grew on to watch a lot of different Batman movies, the 89 one, Mask the Phantasm. I love them all, even the bad ones, like Batman and Robin or Batman Forever. Um, but uh, something about The Dark Knight was just a special event. I remember being one of those people, just like with people about Michael Keaton as Batman, that didn't think Heath Ledger could pull off the Joker, and how dumb I was. He's probably one of my favorite Jokers. The ironic thing is, I had another friend who used to argue back and forth with me and say The Dark Knight was trash, and he would be an asshole about it and stuff. So, and it felt like a similar situation to another friend who would fight me over fricking who's better, Metal Gear or Splinter Cell. I always fought to defend Splinter Cell. He always fought to defend Metal Gear. Nowadays, I love the Metal Gear series and grew into it. And I did watch your video, Cap Miner. You brought up stuff like the um, Gordon being shot. Yeah, that is obvious. People do kind of treat it like a big plot twist thing. I didn't think he was going to die immediately in that movie, but it's cool to see that that did somewhat trick people back in the day, and I think that fact it even managed to do that is a feat on its own. And it's not a masterpiece. I think Nostalgia Critic made one of my favorite videos on it, other than his ending part. I don't agree with some of his last parts that he had to talk about, like it dragging out. I actually didn't mind it and didn't feel it dragging out. The other thing being, he said that the two boats with explosives plan felt more like a Two-Face thing. Definitely not. Do not agree with that at all. Like, I feel like he's coming more from thinking of Two-Face's motivations from the Batman Forever movie rather than the comic book version of him. So, speaking of Two-Face, I just noticed he's facing the frickin' wrong way, ironically. There we go. Sorry, that was bothering me. But yeah, I've grown up with a lot of the Batman stuff. I see your points. If I have one problem with the approach of the video, and you could argue I do the same thing with my cyberpunk videos, I feel like it's coming from kind of a hostile place. I feel like there's a negative energy that feels like it has, I wouldn't say an agenda, but that it's trying to attack it from a big negative angle. I don't know how to word it honestly, but I did not want my cyberpunk videos, and I still make sure to be like, if you do love that game or this movie in this case, continue doing so. I just personally, these are my reasons I don't like it. So I feel like even though that feels like a playing it safe kind of thing, like that, why is that a problem? As well as it is not playing it safe. And even if it is, I think that is a respectful way of looking to not hurt somebody's feelings, to not hurt their opinion. I've gone off on Cyberpunk, but I still make sure to be like, look, if you like the game, go ahead, even though I think it's ass. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to come from that place. I try to, but I don't know what kind of person you want to be, so I can't say that for you. I'm just saying that, like, from my perspective, I want, from what I want to do, I want to be a little better, and I want to have more positivity than negativity. There's enough of that on the internet as is. But going into some of the stuff, like the talking about Christian Bale's voice, I, once again, giant fan of the frickin' Batman and Joker, but I love his voice. It's stupid, and I think it's more the fault of maybe frickin' Christopher Nolan that he chose that to be the voice he goes with. And I agree, the other voices are definitely better. But on a joking level, I love that voice just because it's so darn stupid. I love how dumb that voice is. I have fun mimicking it myself, even if it destroys my frickin' vocals. And then I have to recover my voice. And yeah, of course Kevin Conroy is the best. Is that not obvious? I don't think people are denying that. The guy passed away, sadly. And he's such a legend amongst people. So I feel like you're, like, kind of coming across like people don't know that when they do. And it's just kind of baffling to me a little bit. I don't want to come off negative myself towards you, by the way. That is not a point at all. But I just wanted to talk about the movie, and it kind of helps me to go into some of the reasons. I do think that there are some things. I actually was talking, ironically, the other day with Dave, because Dave liked that stupid War of the Worlds movie that came out just because it's so bad it's good, and they're trying to make the whole movie is like the message of being spied on or whatever through your, like, cameras or the technology around you. And I brought up to him, you know what movie did that better in a brief amount of time? Freaking The Dark Knight. With the part where Lucius is supposed to, Batman wants Lucius to use the cameras because he's desperate to catch the Joker. And he's like, if this machine's still here, I won't be. And he tells him type in his name, and that's what self-destructs it. But yeah, he did something kind of morally gray or not good. But I felt like that was an interesting message. It was definitely better than how I think Nostalgia Critic also pointed out the problems of The Dark Knight Rises. I do like The Dark Knight Rises. It's a spectacle. It's a fun movie. I love the fight scenes. But yeah, the writing of a lot of scenes. And once again, with the Bane voice, I think it's freaking hilarious. I love the voices of some of these characters. They're freaking hilarious. And I always thought Heath Ledger felt more in his design and such like a Tim Burton-ified Joker than the one in the actual Tim Burton movie. Jack Nicholson's great, but the design, while it's good that it came straight off the comics, when you saw Batman in those movies, it still felt purely Tim Burton's Batman. he didn't have like the gray and black suit with the underwear over his pants like usual. But I never felt that with Jack Nicholson. It was supposed to be Joker ripped from the comic, but then you had Batman not ripped from the comic. Yeah, I felt like Heath Ledger was ironically felt more like a freaking Tim Burtonified Joker than the other. Now, Christopher Nolan is a great director. He has flaws though. There is one time where you can see like a boom mic in the one of the reflective one-way mirrors in the interrogation room. There's also little editing errors and stuff throughout different parts. I'm sweating, by the way. It's freaking hot out. But it is such a freaking fun movie with freaking amazing action. It feels like they definitely upgraded the action from Batman Begins. My friend Dave is a big fan of Batman Begins. And I, of course, love The Dark Knight. I love The Dark Knight so much. But it's my personal masterpiece. It doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to be anybody's, but I love it for various reasons. I do like the messages in it. And like, I didn't really prepare as well for this video to really talk about what those messages are, so I'm not going to here. I'm going to leave that for something else. I left a comment on Cap Miner's video about how I respect his opinion, but I also respectfully disagree. But I can see some of his points, and I've always wanted to make a video myself, and that his perspective came from a place that felt like it was as kind of rage-induced like I get with Cyberpunk. But yeah. Sorry, loud-ass cars. I should close that window. But yeah, I grew up with a lot of the Batman series. I love that stupid voice. I feel like I could criticize or talk more in depth about it if I was reacting to somebody's video alongside. But the reason I don't do that is I don't want to get copyright claimed, because there's still visual footage from the movie and stuff, and I hate dealing with that. I also hate doing reaction stuff, but I feel like I could come across a lot better being able to talk about that stuff if I watched a video, for example, like Nostalgia Critics or Cap Miners alongside. Not so much do that when maybe there's another idea I could have. I could use my headset for a video like this, listen to what's said, and then like pause in between when I want to make a point on something, and then I'd have to probably repeat what that person said if I can remember. I have a bad memory in general, but it's probably another reason, honestly, why I wouldn't be good at making a video trying to talk about The Dark Knight. But I would need to write down more notes on it. Those are just some of the things I got from it. I remember, AVGN is a good example of, because he made a video talking about movies everyone else loves, but he doesn't love as much. I think he makes a video where I want to he talks about how he felt most of the movie was boring to him, and that I'm trying to remember what else he says, but most of the movie is boring. Can't remember a lot of the stuff. I don't agree with, other than the Joker and such, and it's the same thing I heard Cap Miner say, ironically. And I'm just thinking to myself, no, that's not how I feel, at least. I remember a lot of the characters. I love Lucius Fox. I love Morgan Freeman's Lucius Fox. I can even quote him. Hell, frickin' Michael Caine's Alfred is a buttload of quotes. I know there's a lot of exposition, but Christopher Nolan is much better at at doing exposition than someone, say, like freaking Zack Snyder, or because he's just way. They're both pretentious, but one's a fun pretentious, and the other one is a unfun pretentious. You can probably guess what I'm getting at there. I could make a whole video on like some of those. I actually do like Ben Affleck's Batman. I just wish he got his own freaking film, and then we never did. We never truly did, and then he sadly is no longer Batman, which kind of sucks. But I'm glad there's always. And he also, Cap Miner was bringing out how the Joker movie, I think, was doing certain things better. Hopefully, not talking about the sequel to the Joker, because frick that movie. Shove it up someone's ass. No. I felt like that movie was just very disrespectful to the source material, while also, when I saw that list of things about the movie, I can't remember what it was called, but I think I showed it once on a video in the past. And one of the things, and I think Moist Critical also touched on this, was that it felt like it was trying to be disrespectful to Heath Ledger's Joker in that one end scene where originally Christopher Nolan didn't want them to do the idea of the guy cutting his face to become the Joker. And then they go with that, and it felt like it was not only spitting on Christopher Nolan, but it was also spitting on Heath Ledger and his legacy, too, of the character. And it's just so disgusting. But yeah, I absolutely love The Dark Knight. I love how it's shot. I love the characters. Even Batman, there's memorable lines, whether funny ones or not. I don't wear hockey pads. Some men just want to watch the world burn. There's a lot of memorable quotes from the frickin' Dark Knight, and it is not just the Joker. Like I said, Michael Caine especially is got a lot of frickin' awesome dialogue. Hell, there's still dialogue from the Dark Knight that not only Actman, but I, and I'm sure others, still find relevant and use today to talk about the like evil corporate companies and crap and what they're doing, like Ubisoft, or like people focusing on AI. I use the "some men want to watch the world burn" quote for that, because it feels like some of the people's motivation of that stuff, it's like they have that thought in mind. We want to watch the world burn. We want to watch the world burn by having so many freaking layoffs and rely on AI artists rather than real artists. And that's just disgusting. It's just such a quotable movie. It's such a fun movie. Great. It definitely fixes a lot of the flaws from Batman Begins. For example, the biggest one being the action and how that's shot. I remember my friend was like, "Oh, the frickin' truck scene's a ripoff of Terminator." And I'm just like looking at him like, dude, they already ripped themselves off like 100 times by now. So I don't think that matters at this point. And plus, it's still freaking awesome. So shut the frick up. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, the other thing that friend said was he doesn't like Heath Ledger's Joker because he's too scary and he's not really funny. Then Nostalgia Critic's video came out talking about how funny he is, and of course he's freaking funny. I love especially the part where just a simple "yeah" can get a freaking laugh out of you. You think you can steal our money and just walk away? Yeah. Just such simple comedy. And of course, just like people dressing up as Nurse Joker, freaking ridiculous. The impressions and everything. It's just a movie that to me resonates with me personally. It's personally my number one movie, so you couldn't have chose a worse movie to and here's some other examples. I had a teacher that I've actually watched The Dark Knight so much. I watched it when it was in theaters with my family. I watched it when they were premiering it in my school. And there was this one time where my teacher, we had a choice between the movie Madagascar or The Dark Knight. course, everyone voted for The Dark Knight, one person for Madagascar, and the teacher was like, we're not doing The Dark Knight. We went and done Madagascar instead, and it's like, what? Why? And then I found out later the teacher has a phobia to clowns, a clown phobia or whatever it's called. And that kind of pissed me off, but I mean, I understand. And I was a kid then, but yeah, I just remembered that was something that pissed me off back in the day. And then with that, when my friend said he's more scary than he is funny, I was just thinking, aren't clowns like one of the things people have the biggest phobia of other than like sharks, spiders, and snakes? So it makes sense that he's freaking scary. He's a freaking psychopathic murdering clown, even in the comic books. I understand that, like, The Dark Knight has another thing that's always been brought up is the way that, and this is brought up so much. You know how you are, like, annoyed by the Batman voice? And just how much people have used it that it's gotten sickening? I feel that same way with how much somebody has frickin' mentioned, this movie has frickin' ruined the future of Batman and how it's influenced it. I've heard that so frickin' much, it pisses me off just as much. It is just something that I've run into so many videos, especially lately, and I'm just like, no, it hasn't. There are still unique movies within the Batman universe. Yes, it's a big influence. I'm not going to deny that. But that doesn't mean that it's going to remain like that forever, as well as that's a negative thing necessarily. I mean, negative things can come from just about anything, or any direction you could take something. For example, look at the Transformer Michael Bay films. That was not a great direction to take Transformers for a while. Same with TMNT and such. There's always going to be that point where you're going to... It's kind of the same with making sequels to something. It's like you're going to eventually hit a dead end. I'm surprised stuff like John Wick hasn't hit that yet. But I feel like if they milk it too much, it's going to eventually hit that wall. But yeah, that's always pissed me off and irked me. Yes, it's an influence, but I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing. Or as big a negative thing as people are trying to make it to be, as well as that is also overused, and people wouldn't shut the frick up about it. But, now you're making me heated. But nonetheless, like, I can't wait to read some of these for the channel. I'm sorry that I've been delayed on some things. Once again, my motivation has been crap lately. But, you love what you love. You hate what you hate. You make your decision at the end of the day. But at least don't be a dick about it. Or whatever. I'm not necessarily saying that you are, but anybody else that is, and the way they approach your opinion. When I make my videos, I always try to say, like, make sure you have a respectful, good, thought-out opinion that isn't using it as a platform to bully or harass. As long as you're not doing that stuff, I'm fine. You can swear as long as it's not at the person or whatever. I hope I didn't do that in this video. If I did, I apologize. And it was probably more for a joking reason. I mean, but yeah, I still want to make a video talking more in depth on The Dark Knight. I don't feel like even here I got to talk enough. I mostly talk about my background with Batman, some key points, some videos I like that make some good points on the movie. I love The Dark Knight. It's a fun watch. Great characters, great cast, great action, great set pieces. Just all around a really fun frickin' movie. And I should watch it again. More recently. But yeah. I can understand where you're coming from, some of the points you made, but I don't agree with every single one. And I feel like there are some counters as well as some similar things, like I talked about, that one can feel, like the whole, like, the way Batman, The Dark Knight has influenced Batman stuff today. And I don't think, like, for example, I feel like I don't know if people contribute the like Batman doesn't kill to the Dark Knight movies. As just an example, this is not nothing else to it, but I feel like that went back as far as the animated series. So I don't think that it's an influence in that way. I think what is an influence is there's some examples of like being realistic, or the Joker not using the crazy gadgets he does in the older comic books and such. And I love the Joker. He's mysterious. You can write him so many ways unless it involves a dragon tattoo or being Jared Leto. That it's just a lot. It's just, yeah. I think that they should try different Jokers instead of, as well as like different approaches of Batman and stuff. And we have stuff like the Batman now, and I still wish we did get a Ben Affleck Batman. And if Christian Bale does return as Batman, here's something for Christian Bale. He'll never watch this, as well as Christopher Nolan. Just let him do his own freaking voice, like he kind of does in parts, like Nostalgia Critic pointed out in his Batman Begins review. Just let Christian Bale do his own voice, not the, oh, I smoked a bunch of cigarettes. I especially like making fun of Batman with a lisp. I'm Batman with a lisp. It's really silly. But I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. And yeah, I have to write out a script sometime, find a day that, as well as have the editing tools to make a much better video than this one. But I'm sorry that it's just, this is the background. Probably really boring to you. I hope it isn't. And I like Captain Miner because he's a creative individual. I like seeing actual artists create work. I definitely think you should check him out. I forget the numbers at the end of his name. I'm sorry about that. I'm not good with remembering the number parts of people's name. I just remember Captain Miner. Even names sometimes I suck at remembering. I just have bad memory in general. But yeah, and that's sometimes why I like stutter or like kind of go do my Jeff Goldblum because I'm trying to figure out, like, trying to remember what I wanted to say. And sometimes I have written scripts before, but I never feel comfortable with them, and I feel like they weirdly distract me. I don't know how that happens, but they distract me from other things I'm trying to do with the video and such at the time. And since I try to do a lot of live streaming or videos on reading comic books and stuff. Yeah. Sorry, this video is going on really long, I just noticed. But how do I end this? Well, I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below. I will see you next time. I am the night. I am vengeance. I am Batman. And I'm the Joker, baby.